Everybody's good? All right. You made it. Good. Nice to see you, Mary. All right. So here we are. It's a little brisk out there this morning, eh? Wow, little bit. So, I don't know. It is what it is right now, I guess. Not my favorite. Who loves this? Anybody? Some people like the cold. Some people really do like the cold. This is a little extreme though, right? All right. Let's start with a little bit of breathing if we can. So come right up to a comfortable seated position near the front of your chair. Relax your neck and your shoulders. Close your eyes. And just start by noticing your breath. Just notice the way air is moving in and out. Is your breath fast or slow? Is it shallow or deep? Does it feel even or uneven? And maybe this is the first time you've kind of checked in with your breathing this morning to see how it is. And now begin to deepen your breath so that as you inhale, you feel your body filling from your belly all the way to your rib cage. And as you exhale, you feel your body emptying, again, from your belly to your rib cage. So there's this nice filling and emptying. There's this expansion and contraction in your torso from your belly all the way to your rib cage. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths. And we'll begin to add a little bit of movement there. So as you breathe out, see if you can bring your chin all the way down toward your chest. And as you breathe in, bring your chin up toward the ceiling. So we're just moving the chin down and up. Now you can do this with your eyes closed. If that doesn't feel comfortable and you would like to open your eyes, you can. But a good reason to keep your eyes closed is that you make this movement at your own pace. In other words, you're not following what I'm doing. You're doing it according to your own breath. So as you exhale, your chin comes down. As you inhale, your chin comes up. And it takes a long time to make this movement if you're doing a nice, slow, deep breath. And then at some point, we're going to switch from a yes to a no. So on an exhalation, you're going to turn your head all the way to one side. And on the inhalation, you're going to turn your head all the way to the other side. So again, each time you exhale, you turn your head to one side, and each time you inhale, you turn your head to the other side. And again, a very nice slow movement. If keeping your eyes closed makes you feel a little bit dizzy doing this, certainly open your eyes. And the next time that you have your head turned in one direction, doesn't matter which one, you're just going to hold it there. So you're just turning in one direction. And as you hold your head here and breathe, you're going to lift your chin up and lower it down. So lift and lower. Breathing in, breathing out. And then gradually coming back to center. We're going to turn to the other side. Same thing, we're going to lift and lower so our head is turned in one direction. Good, and then let's come back to center again. Let's take the right ear toward the right shoulder. Just kind of holding here. And then let your left arm come off your lap. Just kind of let it hang down. Breathe in, breathe out. And then just for an added stretch, take your right hand over to the top of your left shoulder. Just kind of pull it down a little bit. So you're just pulling that shoulder down. Breathing in, breathing out. And as you're here, turn your head down, your nose, down toward the floor. Keep pulling that shoulder down. Bring your head back up to center. Release your hand. Take that left hand to your lap, and we're going to go to the other side. So take your left ear to your left shoulder. I'm just going to hang here for a minute. Take some nice deep breaths. And on the exhalations, you should feel a releasing of some of the tension. Take your right hand off your lap, let it hang down. Breathing in, breathing out. And then take your left hand to your right shoulder and pull it down a little bit here. So we're pulling down a little bit more, and then turn your nose down toward the floor. So keep the ear as close to the shoulder as it'll go. Turn the nose down toward the floor. Keep breathing in, breathing out. Bring your head back to center. Release your arms. Let them come back to your lap. Let's roll the shoulders a couple of times. So we're just rolling the shoulders up and around. Keep breathing as you're doing this. And then maybe even switch the direction of your shoulder rolls. So go the opposite way. Great. All right, let's get that right arm. We're going to sweep the right arm up and around. Nice big circles, and do what you can. So if you've got a shoulder that is a little cranky, doesn't like this movement, you can keep it all the way down here if that's what feels okay for you. Let's add a little movement for the wrist. So the next time your arm comes up overhead, you're going to circle your wrist and then come forward and down. Good. And circle the wrist and down. Good. And at some point, we're going to switch the direction of the circles, and I'd prefer if you switch the direction of the circles when your arm is down by your side. That just puts your shoulder in a more, less aggravating position. In other words, if you switch direction with your arm extended overhead, your shoulder could get a little bit pinched, could feel a little bit angry doing this. Good. So just one more time, up and around. Good. Excellent, and let's go right to the other side. So sweeping up and around, just a couple of times sweeping, and then we'll add the wrist movement. So little movement for the wrist and down. Good. And notice if this shoulder feels different than the other one. Quite often we have a difference. We don't necessarily know about it till we start investigating. And next time your arm is down, you're going to switch. So going up and around, and up and around. And a couple more of these. I didn't say this before, but switch the direction of your wrist too. So if they've been going in the same direction, right? All right, last one. I think we did 4 more on this side than we did on the other side. That's all right. So just kind of roll the shoulders a little bit here. All right, we're going to get a little more movement now, the shoulders, the wrists, and the elbows as well. So kind of move your arms up and around like you're stretching, getting up from a nap or getting up from sleeping overnight. Bring the arms back, squeeze the shoulder blades. As you come forward, see if you can feel your shoulder blades, how they kind of come off your back. So it's kind of like you're rounding your upper back. And then you pull back and you can feel your shoulder blades squeezing. Everybody got that? Great. All right, let's do this. As we're doing this, roll the wrists and extend and bend. the elbow, so it's like you're conducting, right? You're a conductor. So there's all this kind of fluid movement. Got that? Y'all look like little birds. Good. And let's switch the direction. So we got all this movement, and you can feel it in your shoulders. Good. All right, one more time up and around. All right, so let's take the right side. We're going to do this little movement going forward with the right. Everybody got that? So you go behind you and out and up and all the way down. That looks great. Can you now keep doing that movement and go backwards with the left? You knew it. You knew that was coming, right? I'm getting very predictable here. That's okay. Okay, and can you switch? What? Right? So you're going backwards with your right, and you're going forwards with your left. And are you breathing? No. Just the bare minimum, right? Just the bare minimum. All right, how about one more time? That's nice. Let's boogie this out, right? All right, so we just kind of boogie this out. Excellent. All right, so we're just kind of loosening things up a little bit. Our focus here is on the shoulder blades. You all know where your shoulder blades are? Right back here. You got one on the right side, one on the left side. Those are called your scapula. It's a scapula on one side. It's a flat bone, and it sits right on top of your rib cage. And a lot of us have very limited movement in our scapula. They're supposed to be able to, when I reach forward, so if you reach forward, like you're trying to touch me, reach forward and round your upper back. So right now, your shoulder blades are sliding out to the sides of your ribs, right? So I want you to kind of get your mind around that. So your shoulder blades, let's see if you can see it here. So here's my shoulder blade on my spine. When I bring my arm forward, can you see how the shoulder blade moves forward? Yeah. So that's what's happening. Now, if you pull back and squeeze your shoulder blades together, they're coming together close to your spine, right? So the inside edge of your shoulder blade here is coming close to your spine. So that shoulder blade is moving away, and then it's moving toward your spine. So for a lot of us, we get stuck in a position like that. You recognize that, right? Yeah, because it's hard. When you're fighting gravity for 60, 70, 80 years, it's hard to maintain that fight, right? So gravity is pushing down all the time. And over time, gravity pushes down on your head, and you know, we're not in perfect alignment. It starts to push down on your head, and it actually pushes us in this position. So the shoulder blades are now not in a neutral position. The shoulder blades are a little bit forward. Can you get that? So if you sit up nice and straight, relax your shoulders, you're not pulling them back. They're just kind of in that position where it feels like your shoulder tops are right above your hips, right? And then just kind of come into that little slouchy position. That's the watching TV position. That's the driving the car position, right? So you can feel your shoulder blade is a little bit off. There's a little bit of strain in the back. So what happens is the tissue between your shoulder blades gets locked into this position, and it forgets how to contract, right? So when we get stiff in the upper back, what do most of us do? I stretch like that. Yeah, so we're taking tissue that's already stretched, and we're saying, now you're going to stretch some more. I know you hate it, but you're going to stretch some more. So what we're going to do now is we're going to teach it, we're going to re-educate it to contract, okay? So the best way to do that is to pull the shoulder blades back, right? And then come all the way forward, right? So you can do this with your arms forward, and then kind of pull back, and forward, and back. So as you're doing this, you might notice that one side feels like it's gliding a little better than the other. Might feel like your arm is moving forward and back a little better. Might feel like your shoulder blade is gliding a little better. You might notice noise in one side or both, right? Okay. So relax your jaw, relax your neck as you're doing this. Good. Okay. So we've got this movement. Now pull back, hold here. As you hold here, relax your neck and your jaw. You're going to take your hands and you're just going to extend your arms out behind as best you can. So we've got the shoulder blades squeezed together and we're extending the arms. And then we're going to bend the arms. So that's the whole movement. So the shoulder blades are staying in this position where they're squeezing together and we're extending the arms. If you're doing this with your neck, pull it back a little bit. All right? One more time. We're going to hold it in extension, right? So head is level, like you got a book on your head, right? Squeeze the shoulder blades a little bit more and see if you can clap your hands behind your back. Right? If you you might need to turn in your chair. Sorry about that. Because the back of the chair is like, right? So you're not bending your elbows, right? You're doing this, right? You're squeezing your shoulder blades together. Because as soon as you bend your elbows, you lose the connection with your shoulder blade. One more breath. And then come back. Let's roll the shoulders a little bit more. So you might be feeling a little bit more activity in that space between your shoulder blades. Anybody feeling that back there? Yeah? Could be a little sore too. So just kind of notice, because muscles, muscles and tissue. I don't want to just say muscles because it's more than that. When we start to move areas of the body that haven't had a lot of movement, we get sensation in those areas. And for a lot of us, especially when it comes to particular areas of the body, any kind of sensation, our brains kind of say, oh, that's pain. That's discomfort, when all it is sensation. Okay, so let's do something. So we've got that movement forward and back, right, for the shoulder blades. Let's see if we can make it, uncouple those movements. So let's take the right arm and we're going to push it forward. So you feel your shoulder blade kind of moving toward the front, right, toward the side. And then we're going to take the left and we're going to pull it back, right? So your left shoulder blade is squeezing. I'm going to reverse that. Left shoulder blade is squeezing toward the spine. Right shoulder blade is moving off the spine. And then we're just going to switch, right? And without twisting your body now, right? And without lifting your chin like this. So relax your neck. This is all about the shoulder blades. If you smile a little bit, it definitely makes it a little easier. It does. It does. So we're just kind of going back and forth and we can kind of feel that, yeah? Okay. One more time. Okay. And then bring your hands to your lap. So we got some movement in the shoulder blade. But most of us were not focusing on the shoulder blade in terms of the movement. We were focusing on where the arms were, right? Yeah, so that's how I cued you too, was move your arm forward, move your arm back. Your arm bones are connected to your shoulder, well, connected to your shoulder blade through your shoulder joint. So we're going to try and do these movements now without involving the arms. Again, this is taking movement. You know you have the ability to make this movement in your body because you just did it. Now it's taking that movement and looking at it from a little different lens to see if we still can create that same movement, right? So hands on your lap. All you're going to do is you're going to pull your shoulder blades forward, right? Now a lot of people are going to do this, right? I don't want you to do this. I want you to just pull your shoulder blades forward and then pull your shoulder blades back, right? However you do that. So for me, it feels good when I rock my upper body forward with my shoulders. Other people might feel like sliding their hands is a better way to go, right? But I want you to focus on what's happening in your shoulder blades. Keep your head level. So I don't want you to drop your chin. I don't want you to bring your chin up toward the ceiling. This is all about the shoulder blades. Everybody got that? Okay. All right. Come back to a neutral position. So it's a little more focused when it's just the shoulder blade. Now let's try moving the shoulder blades independently without the use of the arms, which is what we did before. Because this is movement we know, right? Because when we walk, if we walk fast, you know, we walk kind of briskly, we move our arms like that. So can you take your, let's do it this way. Squeeze your right shoulder blade toward your spine, right? So you're squeezing the right shoulder blade toward the spine. Now pull your left shoulder blade forward a little bit. So there's almost a little bit of a twist in your spine. You can almost feel that. But I don't want you to twist your whole body, right? And then see if you can switch that. And keep the movement or the origin of the movement in the shoulder blade, right? In other words, I don't want you to be moving your spine. I want you to be moving the shoulder blade from the shoulder blade. What's happening there? It's almost like you have to listen for it, right? You almost have to listen for it. Everybody got that? Just a couple more. Good. Okay, and then relax that. Let's roll the shoulders a couple of times. All right. Can everybody cross their left ankle on top of their right knee? If you can't, if this is like, nope, that's not going to happen, just have your foot on the floor. But I'm going to cue this like this. So this is not a hip movement. This is a shoulder movement. You're going to take your right hand and place it over onto your left knee and then take your left hand on top of that. Right? So you can feel a little bit of a twist here. You can feel a little bit of a stretch through this side. Can everybody feel a little bit of a stretch? Okay. Now what I want you to do is move your right shoulder blade off your shoulder as you round through your upper back. This is going to take a couple of times to get it. Okay, relax that. So this right arm stays straight. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to use my knee as leverage to get into this stretch. Can you see that? Let me turn this way a little bit. So here I am kind of in that neutral position. I'm trying to pull this shoulder blade off my back and I'm rounding a little bit through my spine. Has everybody got that? Can you feel a stretch through that arm, through that shoulder? So if this shoulder is way up here, drop it down. It's not about lifting the shoulder up. You're just anchoring it here and then you're moving your body back. Again, same movement we just did. When you did this, it's the same movement. We just have a little bit of a twist to it. And it can be a little confusing because we're getting the brain involved now. And now see if you can turn your head and look out over your right shoulder a little bit. And keep breathing. Good, and then come up. Okay, we're going to switch sides. So right leg crossed. And the reason we do this is to have the knee at a good height to be able to do this. Left hand goes to your right knee. Right hand on top of your left. You're going to keep this left elbow nice and straight, right? And all I'm going to do is lean back to that left side and see if I can get that shoulder stretching. Try not to let that left shoulder come up toward the ear, because that's going to want to happen, I guarantee. That's going to want to happen. And we're breathing in and breathing out, and then turn and look out over your left shoulder. Take some nice deep breaths here. We're stretching all kinds of things. We'll talk a little bit more about that. One more breath. Great, and then come up out of that, uncross that leg, interlace your fingers. You're going to press your palms away and round through your upper back. If that hurts your hand in any way, you can just always grab your wrist or grab your fingers or whatever feels okay. And then take your hands behind your back. Hold on to your hands back here. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. So you don't want to be lifting your chin up. I want you to keep your head level. We're just squeezing the shoulder blades a little bit here. Kind of one side and then the other. Good. And then relax that. Great. Let's roll that up and down. Okay, let's take the right arm and we're going to cross it over the body a little bit. As we cross the arm over the body, this is not so much about stretching through the shoulder blade. We're just getting your arm in this position. We're going to take the left ear to the left shoulder. Now, where do you feel that? On the top of your shoulder. You feel it in your back, neck, shoulder blade area maybe, side of the neck. Okay, let's try the other side. Let's see what we feel over there. Again, you're just kind of pulling the arm across a little bit. Bring your right ear to your right shoulder. Do you feel it just on that left side? Do you feel it on the right side? Do you feel it in your neck, your shoulder, down into your back? Let's release that. We're going to do that again, but I want to give you a little insight here. So what We often think about um, the way the shoulder moves in terms of our muscles, like how our muscles move, and it's really more than that. There's tissue as well. And then there are thinner kinds of muscles. So it's not just like my biceps muscles and my deltoid muscles and my supraspinatus muscles and my trapezius muscles. It's different in smaller muscles as well. So part of what we're trying to stretch, or part of what we're trying to access are tissues that don't get a lot of movement, whether that's stretching or strengthening, but we're trying to get at those tissues that don't get a lot of movement. So do you all know what a balaclava is? A balaclava, it's a it's a piece of head, it's like a hat that you wear. It goes over your head, comes down, covers your neck, the sides and the back, and you tuck it into your jacket and it keeps you nice and warm, right? You actually have that in musculature in your body. So from the top of your head, you have a thin muscle that runs all the way down to your upper back. It comes down around your chin and down. So like if we were to just carefully take your skin off, just really carefully, just kind of carefully pull your skin back, we could see that musculature in here, and the striations kind of go in this direction, right? So part of what we're doing here in all of these movements is we're working some of that tissue. That contributes a lot to tightness in the neck, tightness in the jaw, tightness in the shoulder blades, right? Because that's tissue we can access. So let's do another little stretch here for our balaclavas. Let's take the right arm across the body again. Okay, nice and easy. Take your left ear to your left shoulder and think about that whole tissue structure, right? So it's like, oh, I'm not just stretching the side of my neck, I'm stretching that whole balaclava. And now what happens if you turn your nose down toward the floor and then up toward the ceiling? So as you do this, your ear is toward your shoulder. And go really slowly. I want you to think about that whole tissue structure, right? It's in the front, it's in the back, it's in the side. So when I turn my head down, where do I feel it? Most of us are going to feel it a little more in the back, the shoulder blade area. When I turn my head up, I might be feeling it more in the front of the neck. And one more time, down and up. Good. And then bring your head back to center. You can release that. So close your eyes for a moment. And just feel the right side and left side, and notice if the right side of your neck feels a little longer than the left. Just doing that really simple movement. You can let your eyes open. We'll take the left arm over to the right. So it's the same thing. Think about that balaclava, that whole thing on that side. So we're going to take the right ear to the right shoulder. And where do I feel it now? Isn't that interesting? Okay, so it's different than the other side. It's the same as the other side. I don't remember the other side. Who knows? Lots of answers. So turn your nose down and then up. All right, and as you do that, again, just sort of ask yourself that question. Well, what's happening? When I turn my nose down, where am I feeling it? And when I turn my nose up, where am I feeling it? And one more time, down and up. And then come back to center. Good. Let your hands rest on your lap. Let's roll the shoulders up and down a couple of times. Turn your head a little from side to side. So we just did a whole lot of work for the upper back, the shoulder blade area. Now your shoulder blades, again, they sit on your rib cage, so they move forward and back as you move your arms. There's some similarities in how things move with regard to your limbs, with your hips and pelvis as well, and we're going to get into that a little bit. So with your feet a little wider than your hips, we're going to switch gears here. We're going to move right down to the lower body. So if you want, you can hold on to your chair, and we're just going to drop the knees from side to side. I like to lean back when I do this because I get a little more range in that hip joint, right? In the hip joint, do y'all remember what your hip joint is made of? Glue. Who said glue? I love it. Well, the other class said bones. So they're true. That's true. So your hip joint, come back up to center. So your hip joint, if you remember, you've got a big bone here in your upper leg. It's called your femur. Your femur is a long bone. It goes from your knee all the way to your hip. Here's your femur, right? There's your femur. The top of the femur is like a fist at a little bit of an angle. And it's that little bit of an angle. So if this were, I can't really get my arm down there, but this is my leg bone, right? So the fist is at a little bit of an angle going in toward my body. So those are my femurs. And where the femur comes in is to the pelvis, right? So your pelvis, picture your pelvis like two elephant ears. One on the right side is larger on the top and it comes down to a little point. One on the left side, larger on the top, comes down to a little point. It's somewhere near the bottom there that your femur goes into a little socket. That's your hip joint. So your hip joint isn't here. It's not here. It's right there. It's right out there. So that's your hip joint. So when we're moving from side to side, we're moving the leg bone in that socket, right? So that's exercising that hip joint. Let's do some more movement for this. So let's just go in and out together, right? So I want you to think about your two femurs, right? They're rotating in and rotating out, right? When you are inactive, and then let's bring the feet back down together. When you're inactive, what happens in the joint is there's a fluid in there called synovial fluid. Just think of it like joint grease, right? So your joint grease is kind of thick when you haven't moved for a while. When you move, that joint grease gets a little bit softer, a little bit thinner, and it's better lubrication for the joint. That's why movement is key, right? So staying still creates more stiffness in the joints because your joint fluid gets a little bit thick. So let's do another little movement here. So thinking about the femur, right, in the hip socket, we're going to move that, we're going to rotate that. A lot like we did with the shoulder, right? That kind of rotation. So all we're going to do is on the right side and then on the left side, we're just going to lift up, go out and back in, right? And then left side up, out, and in. So you can hold onto your chair if you want. You don't have to. What I'd encourage you to do is if you have your hands on your chair, don't hold on, because what's going to happen is you're going to use your arms to make the movement in your legs. So you can just kind of have your hands here if that helps. Take that right leg up and around and down. Take the left leg up and around and down. And that's all we're doing, right? So see if you can do this without leaning back in your chair. That's the other thing we do, right? Because when I lean back, I can go way up. When I'm here, not so much, right? So here I am, just kind of going up and around. And you might be feeling like, oh, that's a little creaky on one side. Or, it doesn't feel as good on one side. Everybody feeling okay with that movement? So you're just bringing your feet back together each time? Good. Okay. So that's the up, out, and in. And now we're going to do the opposite movement, which is out, up, and in. Okay? Same thing on the left. Out, up, and in. So you go out first, then up, then in. Go out first, then up, then in. And breathe as you're doing this. Good. Couple more times. Who is feeling that on the out, up, and in, you can actually lift your knee higher? Yeah, because you can. One more time. Each side. Sorry about that. Good. Okay, so we got that, right? So we got a movement that takes us up and around, and we got a movement that takes us up and in. So up and out. I'll put it that way. That'll be easier to keep in our brains. So you could feel that your leg could do that, right? Okay, so now we're going to do it with a little bit of a twist. We're going to get the brain involved, right? So on the right side, we're going to go out, up, out, and in. And on the left side, we're going to go out, up, and in. I'll say that again. Yep, we're going to go super slow because I have to say it really slow. Okay, so on the right side, we're going to go up, out, and in. On the left side, go out, up, and in. Right side up, out, in. Left side out, up, in. So it's just the opposite, right? You got that? Yeah, so you're doing the opposite of, so if you're like looking at your legs, one leg is going up and around, and the other leg is going out first. Good. Let's do that twice more on each side. Last time. So we got this rotation in the hip. Okay, are you ready? We're going to do it the opposite. So on the right side, we're going to go out first, then up and in. On the left side, we're going to go up first, out and in. Right side goes out, then up. Left side goes up, then out. Okay, got that? Yeah. So just kind of notice I'm starting to walk off my chair here. That's because your sitting bones are, where am I? There I am. There I am. So you might notice it's harder to do on this side or it's easier to do on this side. Or you might notice that it's the same level of difficulty or ease, right? So it's kind of, it's so individual. That's what I love about doing these things. It's so individual. Can we do one more time each side? Good. And then just kind of hold it there. Okay. So just kind of notice. Let's take the hands to the lap again. So the first time I had you focusing on your shoulder blades and just your shoulder blades kind of rounding and then pulling the shoulder blades back, right? We're going to add a little bit more movement in through the spine, but also down into the hip. So we did a movement for the hip where we rotated the leg in and out. We did a rotational movement where we did this. And now we're going to do another movement, which is sort of where the leg comes forward and back, right? Forward and back. So if you just take your hands on your lap and lean forward, I want you to think about your hip joint. So the angle of your leg bone as it relates to your rib cage. The angle is less as you're forward, right? Got that? And then when you come up, the angle is greater, right? So we go forward, and then we come up. Okay, so hang tight. So what we're doing now, so we did this in and out movement. So there's the leg bone moving in the hip socket. Then we did this rotational movement, right? So there's the leg bone moving in the hip socket. And now we're just doing a forward and back movement. So that is the same as this. It's the same movement. As far as the joint is concerned, it's the same movement. We're just closing the joint and opening the joint, right? So now we're going to do that in combination with the movement we did for the shoulder blades, the scapulus, right? So have your hands on your knees, your feet a little wider than your hips. You're going to pull your shoulder blades together. You're going to arch your back and lean forward with your belly button, right? So we're closing the gap, we're closing the angle of the hips, and then you're going to do the opposite. So you're going to let your shoulder blades come off your spine. You're going to round through your back, right? So you're trying to get a bigger space between your thigh and your ribs. And then come forward. Can you feel that? Yeah. So if you were taking a mat yoga class, so if you were on the floor, on your hands and knees, this would be called the cat and cow. Some of you might know that because you might have taken this. I just explained to you what's actually happening to your anatomy when you're doing cat and cow. Isn't that fascinating? I find it fascinating because we can make these shapes, right? I can't kneel because my knee hurts. I can't kneel or I can't get into this position because my wrist hurts. Whatever it is, how can we find another way to make these shapes in your body? We don't have to get on our hands and knees. We can do it right here in the chair. We're doing the same thing, right? So it's all about what's happening in your shoulder blades, all about what's happening in your hips. Okay, are you breathing as you're doing this? Okay, good, because I forgot about that. All right, and then come sort of to this neutral position. Okay, so we just sort of made a connection between our shoulder blades and our pelvic bones, right? So remember I said the pelvic bones, you got one on the right side, one on the left side. It's like a big elephant ear on one side. It's larger on the top, smaller on the bottom. And there's two places really where these connect. One is in the back of your body. So right here is your sacrum. Do you all know what your sacrum is? It's like a triangular bone. It's at the very base of your spine. It's actually some fused vertebrae down there. So your sacrum sits between your right pelvic bone and your left pelvic bone, and that's the sacroiliac joint line in there. So that's one of the places where we join. The other place we join is in the front, in the middle of your pubic bone. There's a little disc. It's like the discs in your. It's similar to the discs in your spine, right? You all know what a disc is like, right? It's a nice thick piece of cartilage in there. This is a nice thick piece of cartilage right between your left your left pelvic bone and your right pelvic bone. And the reason that is there also is for movement, right? So you have a joint back here, you have joints back here, and you have a joint here, so that there's some movement, some independent movement in the right side of your hip and the left side of your hip. And we don't often think about that. But you need that movement when you walk. If I walk with no movement here, this is how I walk. Right? If I walk with movement there, one hip goes back, one goes forward. It's a very different feeling. And a lot of us get into this position, we get into this walking movement because we've maybe hurt our lower back, right? And we start to brace. How many of you have hurt your lower back at some point in your life? Everybody, because that's a human condition, right? It's just sort of one of the things that we cope with being a bipedal animal. So when I hurt my lower back, I start to brace, and I don't get any movement there because this feels a whole lot better when I'm flared up. And then I develop that habit, and I start to think if I move my lower back, I'm going to be in pain again, so I don't want to do that. And then I get to a place where I can't move, very much like the shoulder blades get in this position, and then I can't pull that back because I'm sort of in this habit. So why am I telling you all this? So you understand what we're going to do next and not think I'm really weird. So you've got this movement in your hips, right? And we did this movement forward, right? So we've got the movement of the hip here, we've got the movement of the hip here, and then we have a movement this way. But we also have some movement in the back and in the front. And now we're going to work on getting one pelvic bone to move forward a little bit and one pelvic bone to move back a little bit. And you're saying, you're out of your mind. And we can do this. So the first thing I want you to do is find your sitting bones. Reach underneath your bottom. Kind of scooch around a little bit. And you'll feel those bones, right? There's like soft, and then, oh yeah, there they are. They're kind of hard. So everybody got them? Does everybody have two? Okay, just checking. So guess what those sitting bones are? What's that? Make you sit, yes. So those are the bottom of the elephant ear. So on the right side, it's the bottom of the elephant ear. On the left side, it's the bottom of the elephant ear. So that sitting bone is connected to this bone way up here, right? It's all one bone. That's just the bottom. Now, the way your hip moves, because we were talking about how the hip joint is the leg bone and the pelvic bone where they come together, right? When you move that joint, you can also move your sitting bones. You can move your pelvic bones. You can move your elephant ears forward and back. And we're going to try that. So what I want you to do now is kind of remember your sitting bones because you're on them, but we're going to really focus on the knees. What I'd like you to do is move one knee forward and one knee back. Okay? And then switch. Can you all see what I'm doing up here? I'm just moving one knee forward and one knee back. Now, I'm not twisting my upper body. I'm keeping my upper body moving, but I'm feeling that in the back of the body here. I'm feeling a little bit of movement in my sitting bones. Can you feel how when you move your right knee forward, your right sitting bone goes with it? When you move your left knee forward, your left sitting bone goes with it. Move your right knee back, and your right sitting bone goes back. Move your left knee back, and your left sitting bone goes back. Wow, right? Kind of interesting. So we're just moving the knees forward and back, right? Again, this is kind of movement we do because we can see our knees. I can see my knee moving forward. I can see my knee moving back. I can see this happening. Okay. Come to stillness. So I will say this. If you haven't moved a lot in this fashion before, you might feel a little bit sore in this part of your back, this sort of sacrum in your back, maybe a little bit later. And if you do, a little heating pad there will feel real nice. But that's just getting a little bit of movement into that tissue, right? Sometimes when we have movement in tissue, when we create movement in tissue that hasn't seen a lot of movement for a while, especially if we've had an injury to that area at some point, and again, for most of us, we've had at some point a low back has tweaked a little bit, maybe it's more than a little bit. So if I've been in a pattern where I'm not moving that part of my body, and then I start to get movement, I'm creating sensation. And sensation, the brain automatically translates that to pain. There's a problem there, because the last time I felt anything there was a problem there. Right? So again, it's all in how we frame it, right? How is this? Oh, it's sore because it hasn't moved for a while. I'm feeling something because I got a little more blood flow in there, a little more flow in through the tissue. So let's do this. I want to create. So you realize that you can make that movement. Yes, everybody could make that movement. I want you to forget about your knees. I want you to go back to your sitting bones, right? Check and make sure they're still there. Are they still there? Okay. So we're going to use the sitting bones because, again, your knee bone is connected to your sitting bone through your leg bone. It's a direct connection in there, right? That's the linkage. I don't want you to move your knees necessarily. I want the origin of this movement to come from your sitting bone. So I want you to slide your right sitting bone forward and your left sitting bone back. And then slide your left sitting bone forward and your right sitting bone back. So as you do that, can you feel, as you slide your right sitting bone back, can you feel that right hip hike up a little bit? Left side, same thing, right? Yeah, kind of cool. So that's the bottom of your elephant ear is directing what's happening above it. Also, can you notice what's happening in your sacrum? That's in the back of your body. And you won't feel a lot of this in the pubic symphysis, which is that little gel-like disc in the front. Most of us aren't going to feel this movement there. So we're just kind of going back and forth, yeah? You might. Yes, you absolutely might. Most people are going to feel it more in the sacrum, but you might definitely feel it there. Yeah, you might feel it both places for sure. Yep. Okay. And then come back to sort of stillness. And the reason, do you all know why you have a pubic symphysis? So your pelvis can open for childbirth. That's part of it. That symphysis kind of allows for that movement there. So it's kind of cool, right? Okay, so we got that feeling, we got that sensation of movement in the pelvis going forward and back, right? Let's add this now to the shoulders, right? So we're going to hold on here, and we're going to slide the right sitting bone forward and move the right shoulder blade off the spine. Pull the left sitting bone back and pull the left shoulder blade toward the spine. Right? Got it? Maybe? Okay. And then we're going to switch the other direction. So we're sliding the left sitting bone forward, and we're pulling the left shoulder blade forward. We're pulling that right sitting bone back, and we're pulling that right shoulder blade back. Right? So we're just going back and forth here. So we've got this movement now. Can you feel that movement in your spine as well? So you got a little twisting. So try not to lean to one side, right? So you're not leaning to one side. We're trying to get a twist right up through the spine. This is another great movement. If you're stiff or sore, this is a great movement to do. Think about just sitting in a chair in your house, right? You can do this any place that you're sitting. Good. And then come back to sort of that stillness position. So this is how, when you think about when you're walking, that movement we just did, that's a complex movement, right? I talk about this a lot. Simple movement. Simple movement. This is a simple move. Well, no, that's not a simple movement. This is kind of a simple movement, right? This is a more complex movement, right? Same thing we did, like just the sitting bones, just the hips. That's a simpler movement than getting the whole body involved. But you need to do that every time you walk, every time you take a step when you walk, right? You need to have that kind of movement. Again, think about how you're moving when you're walking. Are you holding your body stiff in some places? For most of us, that answer is going to be yes. And some of that goes back to, oh, I had an injury here, or I've got a tightness here, I've got an issue here. So the movements that we're doing here in this class are just to bring awareness and a little bit more movement into the areas that don't get the movement. And that allows for greater ease of movement throughout the body without pain, hopefully. All right, let's do this. So I'm running a little behind with you guys. So let's do this. We're just going to get to kind of hands and feet because we have to, because it's my class and that's what we do. Okay, so have a little bend in your knees, heels on the floor, toes are lifted up. And then we're going to have the hands. We're going to do hands and feet together. So we're just going to do starfish. Everybody knows what a starfish is. And then a fist. And a starfish and a fist. And we're doing this with both the hands and the feet. Right? And you're breathing as you're doing it. And with the starfish, you're trying to move all of your digits away from each other. Right? So you're trying to get all your fingers as far away from each other as they can go. You're trying to get all your toes as far away from each other as they can go. And with the fist, we're doing the opposite. We're trying to get them like squished in together. Okay. So let's relax that. And on the right side, we're going to do starfish, hand and foot. On the left side, we're going to do fist, hand and foot. Okay? So when you look down, your right hand and foot are in a starfish, your left hand and foot are in a fist, and we're just going to switch and switch and breathe. All right? And you can go a little faster if that feels okay. So just kind of doing this movement. And we did this last week. I believe we did this last week. Yep, good. All right, so you know what's coming next. So relax all of that. Okay, so you know you can do the movement, right? You saw your hands and feet doing that movement, and now we're going to complicate it a little bit with a little bit of brain interpretation. So let's do this. Let's make a starfish on the right hand and a starfish on the left foot. And we're going to do a fist on the left hand and a fist on the right foot. So when you look down, your hand and foot are doing the opposite things. The hand and foot on the same side are doing the opposite things, correct? Okay. So last week I had you cross your arms over. We're not going to do that today. We're going to cross our legs instead. So cross one leg over the other. You can cross it at the knee or at the shin or whatever you want, right? So now when you look down, the hand and foot on the right side are doing the same thing. And the hand and foot on the left side are doing the same thing. You notice I didn't say the left hand and left foot. Okay, so the hand and foot that are on the left side. Okay, so now all I want you to do is looking at your hands and feet, I want you to switch, right? So the hand and foot on the same side are doing the same movement. Got that? Are you breathing? You all are focusing. I love this. I love this. Okay. So now, can you keep doing that as you uncross? Oh. And then let that go. How many of you, as soon as you uncrossed your legs, you synced up the hand and the foot on the same side? That's just really hard to not do. That's really hard to not do. Let's try it one more time. So we're going to have let's have the left hand in a starfish. So we'll start on that way. So the left hand is in a starfish and the right foot is in a starfish. Left foot is in a fist, right hand is in a fist. Okay? Now let's cross the arms and see if that goes any better. Okay? So when I look down with my arms crossed, when I look down, the hand and foot on the right side are doing the same thing, hand and foot on the left side are doing the same thing. And switch, and switch, and switch, and breathe. And then see if you can uncross and maintain. Okay, and let that go. Was that any easier for anybody? Good. So isn't it interesting? You know how to do that movement, right? Like your hand and foot, your hands and feet know how to do that movement. The muscles, you showed yourself that you could do it, and all we did was switch which hand and foot was doing which, and it changed things, right? It changed things in a really different way. So again, when I think about trying to create more movement nutrition for the body, right? Because that's what movement is. It's moving nutrients in and out of your cells, right? If a cell, if I'm sitting for a long period of time, or say I've got my arm in a cast, right? My arm is in a cast for 6 weeks. There's not a whole lot of exchange of fluids going in and out of the cells there. So there's very little nutrition for that arm. So when it comes out of the cast, it's like twice as small as the other one. It has no strength. Part of that is muscular, but part of it too is that the tissue has got no nutrition. It also, if any of you have been in a cast and you look at the color of the arm when it comes out, it's usually kind of a grayish color. It doesn't look quite as healthy as the other one. Luckily, a little bit of movement changes all of that. So again, when we think about how we move our bodies and the way that we perceive movement in the bodies, sometimes it's just about changing our perspective on things, right? It's how do I change my perspective about how I'm moving my body? How do I change my perspective about what I feel when what I think I feel is pain, but what I'm really feeling is just sensation in a spot that hasn't had sensation for a while? That's all. I'll leave you with that. So close your eyes. And let's take some breaths. And just think about all the different parts of your body that we moved today. We did some movement for the neck and the shoulders. We got in touch with our balaclavas, which we didn't know we had, which is kind of cool. We worked the shoulder blades, the hips. We could feel how the arms controlled what happened at the shoulders just the same way that the knees or the legs control what happens at the hips. And we can feel the breath as it moves in and out. As you inhale, the expansion in your body, right? So as you inhale, breathing in, your belly and your rib cage expands. And as you exhale, your belly and your rib cage contracts. And we're going to take 3 really deep breaths. So let's start by taking 1 deep breath in and holding. See if you can breathe in a little bit more and then breathe out with a sigh. I'm going to do that 2 more times. So taking a nice deep breath in and hold. Breathe in a little bit more and breathe out with a sigh. Last time, take a nice deep breath in and hold. Breathe in a little bit more and let it out with a sigh. Then you can let your eyes gently open. Thank you everybody for being here today. It's always great to be together, have some fun, learn some stuff. And I do have your joke of the week. Are you ready? Okay. What does a mermaid use to wash her fins? I think I heard it. Tide. Have a good week.